In this lesson, we're going to look at what are called C-style strings. Let me write that out for you so you can see what I'm talking about. C-style strings. And these are strings that were developed in the C language and that still work in C++, although I'll mention now and again that you really shouldn't use these types of strings in your C++ programs. I'm providing this information because occasionally you'll come across a library in C++ that uses old C-style strings. But in new code that you're writing yourself, you won't use these C-style strings. Before you start the program, you need to #include the C-string class or library. We'll be using that for a couple of functions. A C-style string is a char array that consists of a series of characters. So for example, the word hello would be created as a C-style string as follows. One interesting note about C-style strings is that they must be null terminated. So the compiler knows when the string is actually stopped. So the word hello is written as H-E-L-L-O and then null terminator as the last character. To make it easier on you, you can use double quotes like so, and then the null terminator is added automatically. So the second method is a much easier way to create a C-style string. We can use them similarly to how we use C++ strings. So we can just see out C1 and C2, and that should work just fine to display hello world. As you can see, that worked just fine. The other things that we need to see about C-style strings besides how to create them is how to work with them as far as, say, making comparisons or when doing like a concatenation. And those are the two functions we're going to look at in this lesson. So for example, if I want to compare C1 and C2, I'm going to use a function called string compare, strcmp. And it works similarly to the compare function for the C++ string class. So I'm going to write strcmp C1 C2. And so what it's going to do is it's going to compare these two C-style strings and return -1 if C1 is less than C2, 0 if C1 is equal to C2, and a +1 if C1 is greater than C2. And we're just going to see out the value here. I'm not going to get too fancy with this example. And you'll see that it returns -1 because hello is less than world lexicographically. So, since you're already familiar with how compare works, you know how string compare works. And then finally, to use concatenation, we use the string cat function, and it concatenates the second argument onto the first argument. So in this example, C2 is concatenated to C1. And we can write out C1 like so, and see that we get hello world. So if we wanted a space, we'd have to put the space inside one of the strings, like right here. Now let's run it again. And now that gives us hello space world, which looks a lot better. That's all I want to say about C-style strings, because again, you really shouldn't be using them in your C++ programs. There just may be an occasion where you run into either reading some old code or some of the few library functions that require C-style strings that I wanted you to at least be aware of what they are and how they work. And with that, we're ready to move to the first example program to wrap up this chapter on strings in C++.